Hey everybody, welcome back. I've got Stacey and Gigi at the anvil. We've got a bunch of news about the left-wing weirdos. The far left bill calls for federal agencies to create behavioral codes, introduced disinformation experts. We're going to get into that. And we've also got cybersecurity firms claims they can hack a Trezor T. That's a hard wallet. And all you crypto haters are going to be saying, I told you so. Hashtag told you so in the comments. But I'll save that for the end. Because this bill that's talking about disinformation is extremely alarming to me because any bill they come out with that's for our best interest and for our safety is usually packed full of crap, and it ends it with them in total and complete control.
And our privacy disappears.
Yep. Trading safety for freedom.
Yep, it is.
And you will have neither.
There's a saying, somebody made a quote about that, and I forget what it is now.
I can't remember.
But
I
there
don't
is
want
a
to
saying
butcher
about
their
that.
quote.
But so you guys know, we're going to talk about a bill. It's actually not a new bill. It's a bill that's being reintroduced. It looks like that Senators Michael Bennet and Peter Welch, they tried to, especially Bennet, tried to pass this in 2022. And if I looked up the dates, and I think it was almost to the year ago. It was back in May 2022. It did not go through. So conveniently, after May 16th, when the open source and the IBM CEO and I forget the professor, remember we had a meeting that was to Congress about AI, and everybody was like, oh my goodness, we need to do something. All of a sudden, conveniently, 2 days later, we have this bill that they proposed. So they pulled this bill out. Apparently, they tweaked it a little bit, and it is called the Digital Platform Commission Act of 2023. And here's the interesting thing also. There has not been anything done to regulate technology since 1996, and it was called the Telecommunications Acts of 1996. So I get it. We're behind the curve. We are. They even said things are happening so fast that Congress cannot even keep up. And that Tristan Harris that we were listening to the other day that had an interview with Glenn Beck, he said, if you do not listen to something every single day, if you do not pay attention, you're going to miss so much. But let's get into this bill a little bit. It's 66 pages long, by the way. I'll link it in the description if you want to read it. I did try to. Oh, you want to tell Gigi bye? She's getting a little bit.
You let her, Gigi.
She's getting squirmy.
She's going to make me a present in the shop. That's normally what happens. Now, the Federal Digital Platform Commission, they don't have an acronym for this, but it said would rule on what's termed as enforceable behavioral codes and disinformation experts. The far left, two senators, one from Denver, Michael Bennet, and another one from Vermont, Peter Welch, seems to have in concert.
They've come in concert together. They've come together. Yeah.
With congressional testimony delivered by an OpenAI CEO Sam Altman since the bill was presented shortly after and backs Altman's idea to form a new federal agency of the kind. So they're working together. Here's the biggest problem is all the bad people are on the front lines of this, you know?
Well, here's what I took away from it, and because I was reading through it, some of it, and I actually went through the bill. I went through the 66 pages, but I didn't read every bit of it. But here's what I took away. They've had this setting there waiting, and they are just waiting, as they said, what never let a good crisis go to waste. They were sitting there waiting with this bill. They didn't just write this 66-page bill. So they've been having it, and it's all in the name of our protection. And matter of fact, as they state, and I'm getting ahead a little bit, but I just want to state it really quick. They're stating it. He issued it by Bennett. He said this is justifying this push for such regulations. He said because he's accusing technology of corrupting democracy and harming children while working without proper oversight. So you guys, they've had this setting in the wings, if you want to say, or setting on the sidelines, just waiting for an opportunity, it sounds like, to push this bill and get it passed. So I don't know. You want to get into... Oh, no, she's not.
Told you. Dropping a deuce in the shop.
Oh, she does that sometimes.
All the time.
I'll clean it up.
She can't be trusted. So...
Okay, back to being serious.
So here's the thing. there obviously needs to be some type of regulation or watch. There needs to be somebody looking at AI constantly. It needs to be something. We can't have deep fakes and all this stuff going on without some type of authority over it.
Well, Tristan Harris once again, come back. Because that interview, if you guys have not watched that interview with Glenn Beck, Google it. Tristan Harris and Glenn Beck on AI. It's incredible. It's over an hour long, but it's very good. He said, if we just leave it to the 5 CEOs right now that have, and there's going to be more AI companies and stuff, he said, then you're looking at chaos. He said, you're looking at a complete catastrophe. He said, but if you turn around and you give it to the government, he said, you're looking at a dystopia. He said, we have got to come up with a third way to do this. And how we do it, I don't know. But putting it in the hands of the government, to me, is not the same. And you can read.
The far left has jumped to the plate. They said they've got it, and they want to redefine what a digital platform is. Mm-hmm. The bill wants this definition, the digital platform, to also cover those companies that provide content, like what I try to provide, primarily generated by algorithmic processes. This is done by proposing that the future commission be given the authority over how personal information is used in decision-making or content generation, which is thought to specifically refer to ChatGPT. But you know better. There's always something else.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let's stop right here at that commission. So I went through that 66-page bill, and I was like, what does the commission mean? What exactly, and I think you have a little bit of a printout too of what it is. It's 5 members, and they are appointed by the president. And here are some interesting facts. Of course, each member has to be a United citizen. They will receive a salary. They're going to do it in increments. It's going to be a third, like every year, a third is going to be replaced. So they're going to try to keep them constantly coming in and out so they're not there all 5 for 3 years at a time. They can accept gifts. From what I read in there, and you guys get in there and read it if you can make sense of it, accept gifts that somehow will relate to whatever that their position, to learn. So, for example, I guess if they were to say, hey, we're going to have some kind of meeting out on this island, we're going to have a private jet pick you up, I guess you just get to go for free. And it's no taxes from what it said, unless it was a conflict of interest. They can award grants and pilot program money to, I guess, their buddies, whatever they want to do. But these are 5 people that the president is going to appoint that's going to oversee. That's a lot of power.
That's the biggest red flag. The
That's
president isn't doing anything. I mean, the president's a pigeon. He's just, okay, what do you want me to say today? When can I have my ice cream?
Well, it's just a lot of power to give to 5 people to oversee something like this.
So some of the problems it is meant to solve are these: undercutting small business, help destroy trusted local journalism. That's exactly what it says.
Yep, it is.
Enabling addiction.
Yep.
Dismantling disinformation and hate speech. Undermining privacy. Monetizing personal data, as well as radicalizing individuals. And perpetuating racism. Yep. Don't ever forget about racism, because they're not.
Well, they're doing it once again. They're pushing it they're saying even harms to our mental health, especially the minors. And I want to touch on that just a second. Do you mind we talk about that? So jump in with me and talk with me through this. So we were talking about the Patriot Act because I worked for the government during the Patriot Act. And he and I have talked about this many times. And I saw so many of our freedoms being taken away. It was really, really scary, to the point where I could do a subpoena. And typically, you'd have to get either the DOJ or something like that, or at least a higher up to do a subpoena. No. My supervisor signed off on it. And matter of fact, as it got to the point, he did a rubber stamp with his signature on it. I didn't even go to him. I just stamped it and sent it to the internet service providers, and I could track anybody that I wanted to track. I did thousands of them. Now, I had ethics, and I didn't do everything I did was related to a case. But can you think of probably the times that this was not abused? And people track people that they were curious about. If you look just right now, they just came out on the FBI, that as of what they can document, it was over 278,000 times that they did searches that were not even related to cases. And every time I did something, I had to relate it to a case. I had to put a case number on it and show that that's how it related back to it when it came to that file. But this was I was mainly tracking child pornography, individuals in different cases like that. But I saw with just a stroke of a pen, and they passed that thing overnight. Who knows what's all in this bill? It's so broad. When I was reading the language, it seems to encompass so much, and we can go on a little bit and talk about the Code Council and all that. But anyway, jump in a little bit.
No, well, it's just the facts. This is just what we know. And I went through the bill, and it's just a bunch of poppycock. You can't tell what they're doing. And they use extremely big words and try to confuse it to where you can't understand it. And what the big words mean a multitude of things.
Right.
So there's no telling what is going to come out of this. The Federal Commission would have 5 members who would be able to organize hearings, investigations, assess fines, and establish rules through engagement in public rulemaking.
Yep. And this Bennett guy, he's come out and he said that he wants to create this new agency because he, quote, he does not think the Federal Trade Commission or the Department of Justice can do the job. Right now, they're in charge of the antitrust and the consumer protection laws and all that kind of stuff. He's saying because they lack both expert staff and resources to provide robust and sustained regulations of the digital platform sector. So he wants to create this whole entire new agency, as we just discussed. And
so at the end of this, I went through, and in Section 6 of the bill, this is straight from whitehouse.gov, organization and general powers. The commission will have 5 commissioners, including 1 chair, appointed by Bonehead Biden and confirmed by the Senate for 5-year terms. They can be no more than 3 commissioners of the same political party. This section also outlines the qualifications for commissioners, compensation, and protections against conflicts of interest. That was the main thing. Was it's appointed by supposedly the president, and
they get a lot of perks. It sounds like too. These 5 commissioners, and they
get free gifts and all kinds of stuff.
So it says here there was another little interesting caveat that I noticed in there. It said the commission would be allowed to designate some digital platforms as being important, but the other ones are going to require extra oversight and regulation. So I guess they get to pick and choose who they deem to be more important. Maybe they're buddies or something. I don't know. Under that, then, after as part of the commission, you want to talk about the code a little bit. So we have a code council now under the commission, and it's going to have 18 members. And it's saying that in this code council, that's where the disinformation experts are going to be. And the code council is going to come up with voluntary or enforceable behavior codes, technical standards, or other policies. They're going to have 18 members, and they're going to come from different platforms, from what I can understand. They're going to have nonprofits, academics, policies, lawmakers. It's just going to be 18 people that are going to be on this.
Well, I went down the rabbit hole.
On this 18?
On this, what they're calling disinformation experts. Okay. And there was a meeting that's on YouTube about the Google.
Oh, you did?
Google meeting up and talking about all the disinformation and these conspiracy theories. They even talked directly about AJ, who's been right consistently. He might have got a few things wrong, but as a whole, he's gotten a lot of things right. So they were denouncing that right in the middle of the Google talk. And keep in mind, Google has 90% of the internet search. This is massive. I mean, the platform you're on right now is owned by Google. So when they start setting these things up, what's disinformation and what's not, is what I'm talking about right now, disinformation.
Right. Who decides?
Who decides?
Yep.
Now, I think we should be free to decide what information, disinformation, or, we're smart enough. They always want to treat you like a rube. You're not smart enough to know what's good for yourself. We need to tell you. We also need to tell you what to eat and how far you can drive. This is just more and more and more.
Well, okay, I do see where we need something. If we've not had anything passed since 1996, and we have all these internet companies or open source companies or whatever you want to, AIs and all this with no regulations at all, I do think there maybe need to be some standards, but I don't like the government stepping in and taking control and having their own agency, and they're the ones that says the different
They should present this to the public in simple terms.
And maybe have it vote. I don't know what you do. Do you vote on it? Do you have I don't know. But the fact that, and I want to tell you one more thing before Chris goes to the cybersecurity. So BlackRock, this actually happened just a few minutes ago.
Oh, this is
BlackRock prevails over shareholders activists at an annual meeting. So last year, an activist called for Fink's departure. They wanted him out of there. And so they had a meeting today with BlackRock. And BlackRock said absolutely not. 92% of the shareholders voted him back in, supported the pay, and they said, we're in. They also pushed back because these activists were pushing all these environmental, social governances, ESG policies, and all this stuff. They did 3 big resolutions. And they came back, the shareholders, and they said on 2 of them, it only got 10%. And it was for climate concerns and different things like that. The other one was diversity policies. It got less than 1%. So the BlackRock shareholders said, absolutely not. So you've got all these companies, they're shouting all this stuff. And even Think came out and he said, look, this isn't BlackRock's role. We have clients who wish for that. We also have clients, they are not interested in that. And our job is to be working for our clients.
Amazon did the same thing, didn't they?
I think Amazon came up, and I didn't get to get into that story a whole lot, but I think they just also shot down
these
some
companies
stuff.
know if you go woke, you go broke.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
Now, speaking of broke, cybersecurity firm claims it hacked a seed phrase from a Trezor. This is big news for the crypto people. Now, I just got this 10 minutes ago. It was sent to me from a community member. Thank you. And I would never divulge your information. She asked me not to, or he. Cybersecurity startup Unciphered claims it was able to hack into a popular Trezor T-model hardware crypto wallet manufactured by Satoshi Labs. In a YouTube demonstration, Unciphered showcased the apparent extraction of the wallet's seed phrase or private keys. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, that's 12 to 24 words, I'm not sure how many it is, that you can remember, and wherever you go, you can access your wallet. Sounds great, but it turns out maybe not.
But don't ever forget that, because if you do, you will never get your money back. There's no recovering it.
Exploiting a hardware vulnerability that relies on a physical possession of the device. This is not the first time Unciphered has seemingly managed to retrieve seed phrases from hardware wallets. I'm trying to cut some of this out. The hardware security mechanisms of the Trezor T can be theoretically bypassed if a hacker had a T-wallet in possession. The type of exploit depicted by Unciphered would only be feasible if the attacker had physical access to the hardware wallet. So they would have to get it physically. Whereas before, they could get it, but they couldn't get into it because they didn't have the seed phrase. Unciphered team said it developed an in-house exploit that allowed them to extract the wallet's firmware. Unciphered claimed that the leveraging specialized GPU chips, they were eventually able to crack the device pin seed phrase. Now, Trezor did not immediately respond, but later on they said Trezor further clarified that such attacks would require physical theft of the hardware wallet device. So they're leaning on, that. They say, well, if you don't have access to the physical wallet, you can't get it. But that's not the way it's supposed to work, if you know what I mean. So that's the crypto news. Maybe it'll push the price of crypto down where you can get a little bit cheap.
He's been wanting to
I'm
get a
still
little more
looking
Bitcoin.
for crypto to look like cigarette butts on the sidewalk because I'd like to speculate a little bit.
Yeah, you
Add
would.
to what we already have, which is not that much, but that's for a good reason.
You got out of it. You did a little while,
Yeah,
a while back, but you left some in. But anyway.
Well, guys, that's the news for today. Yeah. If you like GG and you made it to the end, push hashtag GG. Have an awesome, awesome day, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Later.